Hey, and welcome again, fellow Raiders. This is Brandon here, B-Hub, ready to bring you your next video in Raid Shadow Legends. As always, please click that subscribe button, hit the notification bell, do all the YouTube things. I would really greatly appreciate it. So hey, today's video is going to be all about the clan boss. What is it? How does it work? How can I get better? All of those things, we're going to cover it. Now to save time, I'm not going to do a whole clan boss run through. It just takes too long. So I'm going to try and give you the basics as quickly as possible so you can get back to the game. So the dividing line between your early game and your late game clan boss stuff, right? Between the easier modes of clan boss and the more difficult modes of clan boss is masteries called Giant Slayer and War Master. These are the two things that are really going to help you crank out way more damage than you ever did before. There's no way to really compare to the damage output of these masteries without having them. So they are both in the offensive tree. This is Giant Slayer right here, and War Master is over here. Giant Slayer has a 30% chance of inflicting bonus damage, and the bonus damage for this is going to be equal to 3% of the target's max HP because it is a boss. So this one can proc on every single hit, which means that you want Giant Slayer on heroes that have abilities like a 1A 3-hit ability. So their first hit, the one that they can do all the time, hits 3 times. Blind Seer, for example, is one of these heroes. Her skills, her Visions of Death, hit 3 times on her A1. So you want it on something like that. Now, War Master has a 60% chance, but it can only hit 1 time no matter what the skill is. So this you're going to have on your heroes that have 1 attack or 2 attacks on their A1. So for instance, Tyrell is an example. He has War Master on him because on his skills he only hits 2 times on his A1, and he hits 1 time on his A2 that I use occasionally. So you want War Master and you want Giant Slayer. Those will help you deal way more damage, and you get that from running through the Minotaur, Labyrinth, Lair, whatever it's called. That is where you're going to get those. That's the thing that you need to focus on when you're trying to progress into doing more damage and moving on to the greater levels of clan boss. Now the other thing that you need to know about clan boss is the debuffs. Debuffs are really important. They're gonna that's what's gonna push you to be able to survive longer and to deal more damage. So one of the debuffs that you're gonna want is decrease attack. Now Tyrell is probably the best one in the game. He is the best one in the game for decrease attack. He has an opportunity of keeping it up the whole game. Other heroes are able to put it on there, but you might not be able to keep it up 100% of the time. But this is what is going to help you survive into the later rounds. Now, each one of the debuffs have a lesser and a greater version. So there is a 25% decrease attack, and that's not the one that you want. You want 50, and you're going to want the greater version of all of the debuffs when you go to clan boss. So decrease attack is awesome. The other one that you want is decrease defense. Now the decrease attack helps you survive longer. Decrease defense helps you deal more damage. If the boss has decreased defense on him, then Giant Slayer and War Master will do more damage. So you're going to want that one. The other one that you're going to want is weaken. Weaken, it does the same thing as decrease defense. It adds additional damage to Giant Slayer and War Master. So if you have both of those buffs up, you will be getting the most damage out of every Giant Slayer and War Master proc. The other two things that are really useful, one is poison. Poison deals damage based on the max HP of whoever it's hitting. So for the clan boss, the poison deals a ton of damage. At Nightmare, each tick of poison deals 50,000 damage, and Aothar places 4 poisons. So if you have 4 poisons, let's say both of them last for 2 rounds, then you're dealing 400,000 damage using this skill, and that's not including the hits that it places on a regular basis. So this is really good. Now the other one that is really important is HP burn. Now I actually don't have a hero that does well enough for my clan boss team that actually uses HP burn, so I don't actually use it on the clan boss, but it is a very good debuff that will help you deal a lot of additional damage. So those are some of the things that you're going to want. Now some of the things that can also be really helpful when it comes to buffs, right? So you have your debuffs, which is what you place on the enemy, and buffs is what you place on your own champions. buffs are also really important. So for Martyr, she does counter attack. If you can get a counterattack team, which will require a hero that can put counterattack on all of your heroes, that's amazing. It is the route that I take because I've gotten lucky enough to use it. But this increased defense is also really helpful for me. Because I get 60% increased defense, that really helps my survivability. Because Martyr's, this buff is usually up during both of the boss's AoE attacks, which means that my team survives for a long time. Because Tyrell puts a 50% decrease attack, and then she puts a 60% increased defense. So with both of those things combined, I can last way longer into the rounds of Clan Boss, which allows me to deal extra damage. So those are some of the really important things to be looking for when you're thinking about who is going to do well on my Clan Boss team in the future. Because here's what I don't want for you. I don't want for you to invest in heroes very heavily that won't pay off a lot in the future. Because like I said, the dividing line between Clan Boss is Giant Slayer and War Master. So don't invest heavy in heroes that are not going to be useful once you have a team that has Giant Slayer and War Master. I'll give you an example. I have this guy, Dracomorph. He's probably one of the worst legendaries in the game. He's not very good. Now, I leveled him to 50 because legendaries come at 5 stars, so whatever. I've put no ascension into him. I've put no skills, no nothing into him, right? No, nothing like that. But I used him before I had Giant Slayer and War Master. Why? Because his Poison Jaws has an opportunity of dealing 3 poison debuffs, and his Baleful Eye was able to put Weaken on the boss. So he was fine for the time being. But he is not somebody that I'm going to invest heavily into, because once I got my team that had Giant Slayer and War Master on them, he was completely irrelevant. So don't invest into heroes that you don't think are going to push it all the way to the late game for you. Now, that's not to say that you're going to ever outgrow any heroes, right? I used to use Verask, and I don't use him anymore. I used to use Frostbringer, and I don't use her anymore. But they were the best heroes that I had at the time, and that's never a regret. They served their purpose to help further me along into the game. But try and avoid these heroes, like maybe like a Dracomorph kind of hero, that isn't going to really help you later on in the game. Focus on the heroes that you know are going to pay out later on. Aethel is one of those, right? Aethel can be used later on in the game, so she's fine to invest in. Another good one is like Apothecary. Apothecary is a good thing that you can bring to Clan Boss. I have mine at 66 stars, fully ascended, because he was good, and he still is. I use him on Clan Boss, so from time to time. So with that, I want to get into my actual team. So for my Clan Boss team, as you have seen, I use a counterattack team, which means Martyr is going to put up that counterattack, and all of my people are going to get extra rounds because of that. I use her. I use Tyrell, who's right here. Tyrell is going to put my decreased attack debuff on the hero. Blind Seer has a 1-hit, a 3-hit A1, so she deals some damage, but she also can put a shield that blocks the stun and also the ability to revive my hero. So she's pretty awesome. And then Aothar is my main damage dealer because he puts 4 poison debuffs on the boss. So he's how I deal a lot of my damage right here. And that's just the simple part of how my team works. A weaken debuff in Aethel, poison debuff in Aothar, counterattack and decreased defense on her, decreased attack on Tyrell. She is able to deal a little bit of damage with her 3-hit, and also just survivability for the Blind Seer. She gets to res people and she gets to protect people. That's just really how my team currently works. Now, you can see over here, there's a lot of different team compositions that my clan uses. And all of these are pretty viable compositions. One of the other teams that I used was a speed team for a while. Now, it didn't do as much damage as I'm currently doing, but it's a very viable build, and that team consisted of Tyrell, again, because of the decreased attack. It's still very awesome. I used Seeker, because Seeker is able to kind of change with Tailwind. He's able to increase the turn meter by 30%, so that kind of just beefed my people up, made them faster. I used Painkeeper. The A1 is able to fill her own turn meter by 15%, so she goes more. The A2 is just a full heal to my entire team. And the A3 is really awesome. This decreases the cooldown of all skills by 1. So I used her. I used a Othar, again, because there's this awesome damage dealing skill. And whenever Painkeeper is able to decrease that cooldown, this is going off all the time. So I'm having like 8 poison debuffs up all the time on the clan boss. And then the last person I used was the Apothecary, because Apothecary was able to, again, give an increased speed boost, fill the turn meter, and then heal from time to time. And in that one, on Nightmare, I was getting, I would say on average, probably around 14 million in one key, which means with a team like that, you can still get the ultimate chest, and there were no legendaries on that team, right? That was a team that was built up of a couple of rares and a couple of epics. So it's something that's a pretty viable team for the long term. So that's really my clan boss advice. You really want to look at who do you think is going to take you to the higher levels. Now, one last thing, and it's a character that I don't personally have, but I've heard that this strategy has really been working for some people. This guy, now he's pretty rare. He's Warlord. He is a Void legendary Auric, and his A1, he has a 25% chance of increasing the duration of all debuffs on a target by 1 turn. So with him, the idea is to put up all your debuffs, including your poisons. He hits them, and basically they stay on the whole time, and it deals a ton of damage. That's another strategy if you ever get Warlord. I would love one. He seems pretty amazing. But there you go. There are some different tips and strategies for clan boss. Hopefully that explains a little bit more of it. And like I said, don't worry too much before you get Giant Slayer and War Master. Focus on getting those 2 things, and then start building a really solid team, gearing them up, and getting ready for that clan boss. Now, the gear is also really important. If you want to know more about the gear, you want survivability, which means you want HP percentage, defense percentage, and you always want speed on your boots. Now, if you want to know a little bit more about that, go to my video that I posted. That is things I wish I had known, right? My beginner's guide, the tricks and tips I wish I had known whenever I first started the game. And I go a little bit more into detail about the gear and the survivability that is useful for clan boss there, what gear not to throw away. But hey, thank you for watching. I really, really appreciate it. Remember, subscribe, notification bell, all that good stuff. I appreciate it. And until next time, Raiders, I will see you later.